All right. Hello.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. How's it going? Welcome everyone to the stream. Is the audio okay for everyone before we start? Because that's always tricky to know from our end. So, yeah. Hi, Grisha. We've talked a couple of times during this last week about the stream, and I'm very excited. So today I am restarting the Building Svelte Society series that I started last year and then stopped doing for various reasons. We're rebuilding Svelte Society, the website, and I thought, I don't know 3D. I want badges on the website, so I asked Grisha if he wanted to do to help me out with getting me some cool badges. So Grisha, you're uh, you're the creator of Threlte, as we can see there on your little tag name tag there.
Yes.
So maybe you can start off by telling us what Threlte is.
Yeah, sure. Threlte is first and foremost a framework for developing Three.js apps in Svelte in like a Svelte native way. Three.js, it's probably a library that you come across from time to time. It's a 3D library that is abstracting WebGL for you to be more user friendly and to be more coherent to concepts that you already know, like cameras and stuff like that. And I am coming from a React background, or I before I used Svelte, I used React to develop Three.js apps, and the mental model of React never really clicked with me. But nevertheless, the like working with Three.js with React 3 Fiber just made so much more sense than using Three.js for itself. And that was really something I missed in the Svelte community, and that's why I started Threlte.
All right, exciting. So you recently did a video as well at Svelte Summit that we did, I guess, last week, two weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago, 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
May
something like
6th
that.
anyway. Yeah, and you showed off some cool stuff there. You've made a game. You've made all sorts of very fun, exciting 3D things that I have no idea how I would even start building. But maybe after this stream, I'll know a bit more. So maybe I'll be able to do something.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So should we start by maybe taking a look at what we're gonna build?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna share my screen,
Yep.
and so what we are building, as Kevin already mentioned, is a badge. And maybe Kevin, you have to explain what these badges are ultimately used for. But in general, you know the concepts of or like the concept of badges, for example, from GitHub, where you receive a badge when you merge a pull request or something like that. And we thought it would be nice to make that a celebrational moment, right? You receive a badge, and you can share that experience or something like that. And this is accompanied by a 3D scene, which looks something like that. Right now, this is what we are building today. And the texture that you're seeing is AI generated, so it should be
Makes
of
no sense.
makes absolutely no sense at all. It's like I don't know. Yeah,
I love the C in there. It almost looks like it's not even like a letter.
I think I mentioned
SXX.
svelte in the prompt, but yeah, uh, exactly. So there's this animation that we're going to build using Theatre.js, which is a really exciting project actually, and it has a really good integration that is actually overhauled by another Thread maintainer right now. So this will, in the implementation, change a little bit, maybe. Probably the stuff that we're using stays just how it is.
All right.
And we're going to use a CLI that makes it easier for us to use the model in our scene. And we're just setting up like a pretty basic Svelte project. That's what we're going to do.
All right, cool. So, yeah, so I can talk a bit about the badges. So, on the Svelte Society website, the idea is that you'll have an account and you'll be able to get these badges from sharing repls that other community members like. If you're attending Svelte Summit, you'll get a badge for that, et cetera, et cetera. So, there will be a bunch of them to collect, and yeah, it's going to be exciting. So, where do we begin? You earlier today you sent me a Blender file.
Yeah.
I barely know what Blender is, so well maybe we should start there. Should I open up Blender? Is that
Sure. Yeah, that makes
all
sense.
right? All right. So we have Blender here, and I have opened it up to the badge. All right. What do I do?
First of all, I think we're not really at the point where we already load models or something like that. I mean, Blender is a really cool software. It's like a 3D creation app, but it can do so much more. In this case, we're using Blender to create a model with textures, with geometry and everything in there, pack it up as a single file, and then we're going to use that in Threlte. But before we are doing that, I think we should start out with just installing Threlte.
That makes sense. All right. So I've got this this very, very basic Svelte kit project running here. It has a headline, and basically I made a component that we could work in. So I guess I opened a terminal.
Yeah, but I think it's easiest if you go to the Threlte website.
All right. Yep.
Because you have to install peer dependencies, and yeah, this is the old one. We are okay, a little bit of background concerning that. This is the website that is valid up until Threlte 5, and we are right now transitioning towards Threlte 6, which is really a big step for us because it opens up all of Three.js. Not only the things that we expose, but really all of Three.js is available through Threlte. And this is a whole new experience in terms of developer experience and stuff like that. And that's why we are strongly recommending to use Threlte 6. It's already way more stable than the old way of using Threlte. And yeah, this actually is something that we still have to change. It's not as simple as that, to be honest. I mean, it is for core, but you need a little bit more. That's why you go to the top of to documentation and go to installation, and there you can choose which packages you want, because Threlte consists of multiple packages. There's the package core, which only has one job. It renders Three.js objects with the use of components. And it also includes certain utilities that are just needed in to wire everything together. But you only get the possibility to use Three.js in and on itself. And but because we can use the abstraction of a component on top of Three.js to build other things, there's this extras package. It comes with abstractions that you can just dump in, like a grid, or for example, or there are these orbit controls that everybody uses to move around an object. That's something. Let me see. Yeah, we need that too.
So I just click that, I guess.
Yeah, because we are using that to load the model. Rapier is is an integration for the Rapier physics engine. We're not using physics, so we can leave that out. But we are going to use Threlte.js, so we're going to click that. And because we're using TypeScript, we also install the Three.js types. Yeah, that's the whole command.
Then I just run this command. There we go here, and I'm going to do it with PNPM. Let's hope
Yes.
this works. All right. And
Yeah.
that's it.
That's nearly it. It's easy to forget about it. I do it from time to time, but there's one thing that we have to do. We have to tell Vite to exclude Three.js from externalization. If anybody's watching and can Eli 5 me on what that actually means, I'm happy to listen.
Yeah, I don't know at all why that is.
It's a question that comes up from time to time, and nobody really knows what's that about. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I have no idea. So it looks like the connection has been a bit unstable here. So it might be the case that the quality has been a bit low. Hopefully that's better now. We'll see, I guess. Okay, so I guess that's it for the
Yes.
installation.
So yeah, basically we're good to go. And there's one central component that is the root of our whole Svelte app, and that is the canvas component. That's
Okay.
the container for everything that's going to happen.
So I assume it's something like this.
Exactly. From at Threlte/core.
Threlte. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and then I just pop it in here, I guess. And something. Oh, I need to start the project as well.
This component will automatically resize to fit the parent container. So no.
Oh, it's the wrong.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
So the idea is that you are resizing your container, and Threlte will just follow. So as long as you are
Doing something like this, it should. Yep.
Yeah. You probably want to make that a little bit higher, so it takes a little bit more vertical viewport, I guess.
All right, so the height here.
Yeah.
I don't know, like that, maybe even more.
100.
100. I don't know how. So maybe one half. Oh, that doesn't work. I guess 96 is what we'll work with for now.
All right. Okay. So now, if you inspect that, you can see that there is actually a canvas component, canvas element, canvas DOM element, and this.
So I'm going to do this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right.
Yeah, exactly, and it fills up the container in which it is in. All right. Now we can add content to it. And we do that by making, so everything should be a child of this canvas component. But because we're very much depending on context, on the context API of Svelte, it's a good idea to make a completely new file that's called scene.svelte or something like that.
Gotcha. And this is where I should import the canvas then.
No, actually not. Okay. This is just where we place stuff that should be in the canvas. But this component just holds all of our content.
All right.
And like that, we can just be sure that when we're inside the scene component, we always have the context from the canvas. That sometimes is like a point of confusion that sometimes happens, because when you go back to the page, to the badge component, for example, if you're using some code that is depending on the context of the canvas component, and you're placing it in the script block of this file, it's actually not a child of the canvas component, right? And therefore it doesn't have access to to the context of the canvas component, and yeah, it just breaks. So
Yep.
as long as we stay in that file, we're good to go.
All right. So I switch over to that one, and I forget about the badge.
Exactly.
The badge one,
Yeah. So we can start out with like a 3D hello world, which is always like a cube, and just to make yourself comfortable with how things work in Three.js. Have you had? You didn't have any experience in Three.js, I think, right?
No.
All right, then. Okay, then I think we'll just open up the Three.js documentation.
All right. I'll bring it over here. Three.js. We'll see if I find it. Should be this one.
Yes. The documentation is pretty good. And it directly throws you into creating a scene. And you already see how the from this little snippet, you already see some core concepts of Three.js. It's class-based, so it's OOP, right? Everything is a class, or pretty much everything is a class. And there are concepts like a camera involved or a scene, and we have a renderer, and there's if you scroll a little bit down,
box geometry.
This is interesting, for example. Yeah, exactly. So this is creating the cube that we are also creating, right? We have a geometry in the shape of a box. We are creating a mesh basic material, which is one of the most basic materials that you can use in Three.js. It's unlit, so it doesn't have any concept of shadows or something like that. And from these two things, a geometry and a material, we create a mesh. And this mesh is like the thing that we see, right? It's the shape and how the shape looks on the outside. And we have to add that to the scene. And then we can, then we see it, right? That's how regular Three.js works.
Yep.
And if you scroll a little bit down, there's also the renderer involved, exactly, because we also have to render the scene. It's just not magically there as we know it from the DOM, for example.
Right.
You just dump an element in there, and the browser takes care of just rendering it, and we use CSS to transform it, and we don't have to worry about like paints and stuff like that. That's all manual in Three.js. So we have to do that, or we can just let Threlte do that. That's the idea, right?
I think that sounds like a very good idea.
All right. Okay. If you have a look at that example of that Three.js page, what they are creating is a camera. That camera is looking at the cube, and this cube, of course.
I'm just gonna keep that in here so we can see it in case we need it.
So there's this really important component in Threlte, which is just called T, capital T. And the first thing you want to do is import that from core.
Yeah, Threlte core.
And basically, it's a generic component that can instantiate everything that Three.js has to offer. Unfortunately, autocomplete on the dot notation is somehow not there yet, but you can just write, for example, if we are first dealing with
geometry here.
For example, yeah, exactly. So you can just write t.boxGeometry to make a box geometry. Yeah, that's already it. There's nothing visible because on its own a box geometry is not visible. But let's create the mesh first, because you see on line 3 of that example, they are creating a mesh. And a mesh is the I don't know how you call it, like the parent of you see how they are instantiating this mesh with two constructor arguments, a geometry and a material.
Ah, yes.
because like the mesh has two properties that kind of define its appearance, and that is the geometry and the material. So the first thing that you want to do is use the T component to instantiate a mesh.
So is that like so?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And yeah, how do we link these two, right? That's
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
question. So we have a box geometry and we have this mesh, but how do we tell the one that it's supposed to be the geometry of the other one? And that's where the attach API comes in.
Okay.
If you make the box geometry a child of the mesh,
All right. Oh, there we go.
yes. You can also, I'm not sure if IntelliSense works right now because you're not in it should work. So if you type, yeah, that's probably
Maybe
easier.
this helps.
Exactly. So if you check for the property attach,
Yep.
you see that it accepts a string or a function. In this case, we want to make it a string, and it should be geometry. And what it does is it internally, this T component instantiates a box geometry object and attaches it to the property geometry of the parent.
So that would be the mesh. The mesh.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But because like most geometries of Three.js are flagged as being geometries, Threlte just assumes that you want to attach it to the geometry, so you actually can get rid of it as well. So you don't have to type it out. You sometimes have to type it out if it's more like special use cases. The same goes for the material. So we can just make a mesh basic material component.
Is basic material like that?
It's mesh basic material.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So it mirrors the exact.
It's the exact mirror, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it works.
Is this how it works as well?
Yeah, that's how it works, exactly.
Do I need brackets here maybe since it's not a string?
Actually, I think you need to make it a string and use. That's actually a very special case because internally this is using a set function, and it accepts a string, and for a good reason because there's some color management going on. And instead of 0x, you just use the
Green.
yeah, that for example, or like
RGB or hex or
hex, exactly. You make it a hex value. I mean, that's essentially what it is, but yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and that's already a really vital part of Threlte, right? That you can basically make any property or use any property of the underlying object as a prop on the component, right? Now the mesh is okay. Let's go to something else. Maybe let's make another camera, because right now you're using the default camera of Threlte, which is a camera located somewhere you don't have much control over it, and that's why you always start out with making camera first. And yeah, you just make it exactly like you make a mesh too. So you use the
camera.
First, have a look at the Three.js documentation, because there's two types of cameras. There's like an orthographic camera and perspective camera. So there are more cameras, but these are the two main cameras.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So do I put this inside of the mesh or outside the mesh?
It depends what you want to do. So everything yeah, this is also a really basic 3JS concept. There's this one class that's pretty much, or like the vast majority, or like the majority of 3JS classes are extending, and it's called Object 3D. And what it does is it's basically the so we are using the term 3JS scene graph. This is because the 3JS scene works very much like like the DOM 2, right? You can nest elements, and if you move the parent element, the child element, the children move too. That's also how 3JS works. So you can nest elements, and you manipulate, depending on what you want to achieve, you manipulate the parent or the child or whatever. And in this case, because there's like a default scene in Threlte that we are acting in right now, this is the equivalent of adding the perspective camera to the scene. And the mesh as well, like scene, add mesh, scene, add camera, for example. And if you
so that would be kind of like what they're doing here, scene.
Exactly.
Add.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you would nest the camera inside of the mesh, you would actually add it to the mesh, to a child, to be a child of the mesh. And therefore transforming the mesh would also transform the camera.
The camera. Gotcha.
Yeah. So how it is, it's perfect. But let's see what we can do with it. So I already mentioned that lots of 3JS classes are extending the Object 3D class. And this class is not only responsible for managing the hierarchy, but it's also responsible for taking transforms and or like transforming an object in space, right? We are in three-dimensional space, so we have 3 axes to choose from, and you can just try to, for example, move the camera position by the property position.
Okay, so that takes like an object XYZ or an array, or
it takes an
probably see here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
position.
It takes an array. So
Yep.
This is because so let's maybe I also did this in the Svelte Summit talk, and I think it's a really good example because it just shows how Svelte really works. Because all these properties that we're using right now, they're not really hardwired into Threlte. Threlte doesn't really know that there is like a position property. That's just some TypeScript thing, right? That we see that we can use it, but the component T doesn't really care what you're writing there.
Okay.
So if you go into the 3JS documentation, and on the left side, you just search for the perspective camera. You can see, if you go a little bit down, properties. Yeah.
Properties.
There you see that the first sentence, see the base camera class for common properties. It's like,
see the base. Oh.
Yeah. And there, again, you see that, at properties, see the base Object 3D class for common properties. So we see that the perspective camera is also extending this Object 3D. And in here, if you are looking for this position property, there's probably lots of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Here. You see that it's vector 3, which is, again, a class. And because in this case, Threlte cannot reassign it, because that would, it's a read-only property, so we cannot really reassign it. Threlte uses the set method on this property. And it does so every time there's a set method. So if there is a set method on a specific property, it uses the arguments of that method as the type of the property. In this case, it's an array of 3 numbers.
All right. So 1, 2, 3. Oh. All right. Type string is not assignable to type number or.
Yeah, you have to make it an array. Yeah, exactly. And you have to. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's what I had. Wonder why it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So let's see here.
Yeah, you
Maybe
see that
1, 2,
nothing
3
really
doesn't
changed.
make sense.
1, 2, 3 does make perfect sense, but we are not looking through the eyes of this camera, and that's because this is actually a prop that Threlte introduces to the Three.js API, and it's called make default.
Okay.
So it's just a flag. You add the property make default, and if you save now, you're looking through the eyes of this camera.
So there's X, Y, and Z. So maybe I want like -2. No?
Then I think it's completely gone. make it 10, for example, or something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So you're moving further away.
I see. I thought I was moving the other way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we do with this property is to tell Threlte to render with this camera. So yeah, that's a very basic Hello World example. If you want to go one level deeper, I can also show you a really cool feature which is called the Pierce props. So let's say you want to have the camera at the position x0, y0, and z10. You could notate it like that, right? Would make perfect sense. But you're only manipulating one axis, and that's why there is something called Pierce props. So you can actually write position dot z. Yeah, well, zoom. Well, that's odd. And just put a 10 in there, and that's the same effect.
That's the same. Okay, so I could also do position X is 2.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff. Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. How does this work under the hood?
Svelte provides all properties as an object, and position.x is just a string, and Threlte just tries to follow the path, basically.
Oh, okay.
Internally. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So these are already like the main concepts, and everything from here is given, kind of, right? So
so
now
it appears that my audio is a bit robot-y.
Yes, the robot is back.
Yeah. Right. I will reconnect. Give me a second.
All right.
Let's hope the stream doesn't stop because yeah. All right. Let's fingers crossed.
Oh, this is the time where I thank my mom, I guess.
Hello? Is that better?
It's better for me.
Okay. Let's hope it works. All right. So yeah, so what were you saying? Sorry.
Okay, I think this is a good foundation that we can now use to start out with the actual badge, right?
All right, exciting. I guess we keep the camera.
Yeah, we'll keep it. We need it. We just get rid of the mesh.
All right.
Or you can just maybe you should leave it in there just for a visual reference that we know. Okay, the mesh is still there. Where's the badge? Okay. So first you go to Blender, and we are exporting this model.
So
And we do
export
that by export and then GLTF. It's like
GLT.
the new industry standard for exchanging, for like exchanging 3D models, scenes, everything.
Yep.
And if you, actually you can just put it into the static
Okay.
folder.
All right. And I'll just call it badge.glb.
Seems reasonable. But if you wait a second, let's go through the options. Exactly. GLB is what we want. GLB is kind of a one file, or it produces one file that houses everything: textures,
Okay.
geometries, everything. That's most of the times what you want. It's also smaller than a GLTF. Apart from that, I think we're good. If you just go through the individual, looks good. We don't have any cameras in there. We don't have any lights in there. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. If you expand the data mesh option, there you have to activate apply modifiers, because you see there's this little modifier, two modifiers are on there, one bevel modifier and one mirror modifier, and otherwise we don't see anything. The rest is good.
All right. Yep. And then I just hit export.
Yep.
And that's it, I suppose.
That's it. That's all that we have to do in Blender, hopefully.
And it's here.
And and there's our GLB file. If you now want to use that, there are several ways, but one that I highly recommend is a new CLI that we include in the Threlte ecosystem. And that CLI is available via npx, so you don't have to install anything. You just run it.
Gotcha. So, do I go to the website maybe and?
Yeah, you go to the static. That one. Yeah. Actually, it's the one package that's still missing a documentation for Svelte 6. So that's the.
Right. You'll have to tell me then.
that's the. No. Actually, it does have a documentation, but it's right now it's only a GitHub README, so you can also have a look at that.
Does it make sense, or do you think should you just tell me? I guess I can go here.
Yeah.
There should be.
And you have to change branch to next, I guess.
Yep.
And there's GLTF.
GLTF. All right.
Yes, and this is the command. You have to append add next to the package, because it's available with the tag add next. If you just try to run that, let's see what it comes up with.
All right, so I'm going to use PMPX, and then I assume I have to do like this.
I suggest to change into the static folder with this shell, and also you have to add the add next.
Right.
Yeah,
I
it's.
All right, badge.glb. Is that enough?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see.
Run it. Things are happening.
So PNPX doesn't ask for permission to install, right?
That's a good question. It should, I think. Okay, so something happened here.
Maybe just try it with npm. I didn't really try it with PNPX.
Yep. So let's see, GLB. But there's a badge.svelte here now. Should I?
What does it look like? Yeah, I already anticipated that. It said it cannot find a parser for Svelte, which is odd.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
all right. So I guess I just remove this.
Yeah.
And then I run this command. Yes. Yeah, maybe that was like a permissions thing then, because it wasn't asking. Yeah, looks like it's
Okay, it looks better.
all right. So should
Okay.
can I start up the project again in the,
Yeah.
in the background?
Yeah, you can.
All right.
So what you see is the thread representation of this Blender file, right?
Yep.
It's manually creating a group just so that it's there right from the beginning. It's easier to set up animations, stuff like that. So it's a detail. But then it's using the T component from thread core, and it's forwarding events. That's something we have a look at later. But it's also using a hook that's called use GLTF from the extras package. And
Yep.
that's used to just load a GLTF. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yep.
And then there's like an await statement, a Svelte await statement. And you can just try to dump it in our scene. So you have to probably move it
Import
and
it then.
rename, because it's inconveniently also named badge. So I don't know.
Let's see here. Real badge. All right. So in the scene, then we import real badge. Let's see here. Cool. And then what do I do? Can I just pop it in here? Like
Yeah.
real badge.
Yeah, it works exactly
This
as
over.
every other thing that you instantiate with this T component.
Yep. Okay, so let's see here. Hide this. Sorry, my monitors are just dying for some reason. Okay, so we save this. Hopefully the badge shows up, I guess.
Let's see. Does it?
Oh.
No. Yeah, why? The problem is also people from the Svelte Summit talk know what's happening. It's because there's no light in our scene yet.
Right.
And our mesh basic material doesn't really care about lighting because it's an unlit material. It's just green. It doesn't know about shadows or anything. But our badge actually uses mesh standard materials. And these materials, they need light. And we can, just for a quick example, we can add this. We can add a light with the T component. So you, for example, T, and there's one light that lights up the scene in a very even way, like from every direction. There's the same amount of light, and it's called ambient light, with a capital A, capital L. Yeah, exactly. That's it. And if you now save, we hopefully see a badge. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, at this point, we can get rid of the mesh, I think. So
yeah. All right. I'm going to zoom in a bit. I guess I do that by just changing the and then 0, something like that. All right.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe even more. Maybe 3. All right. Now people can see it.
You have to be a little bit careful because Three.js uses the so if you check for the property FOV on the camera, it's field of view, and you see here that it's a vertical field of view. So just try to change, for example, the width of your page, and you see what I mean. It's sometimes a little bit annoying, but actually it makes sense in your case because you gave the container a width, a fixed height, right? So
right, yeah.
Makes perfect sense. But sometimes when you want to make it responsive and the aspect ratio changes in a certain way, then you have to find ways of how to make this vertical field of view or horizontal field of view.
I see.
But
so
we're lucky.
We don't need this.
No, we don't need that. We're lucky. Fixed height means we're good.
So before we continue, do you think we have some time for questions?
Sure.
I think there are some in the chat here. So
Oh, how do I see the chat though? Do I have to?
so you should be able to see it, and there should be a comments tab. If there's not, you might
Ah,
need
yeah.
to go to the
Ah, yeah.
yeah. So you can see there. Can we connect our camera to the app, track our eye position, and rotate the badge accordingly? Oh, that sounds
Yes, we can.
sounds
Of
complicated.
course. That's nothing we can't do, but it's for sure complicated. Yeah. I mean, it's not that complicated to get the video feed into a video element, right? And the webcam feed into a video element,
Right.
and from
But the
there
eye
on,
tracking.
the eye tracking part is non-trivial. Yes, I guess that's like machine learning stuff. But I mean, I think there are packages for that can just do that. And actually, I think one member in the Threlte community did like a pose tracking app with Threlte that tracks the pose of the body. So it could be a good
That's
start.
pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue here. What do we do?
Yes. Yeah. What do? We want to make this or like there are 3 types of animations that we want to achieve. One is that we are tracking the pointer, right? That we get this really subtle animation. The pointer is traveling to the left, and the badge is slightly rotating. Then there's the intro animation that we want to do with Threlte.js, and then there's a hover animation. So if we hover the badge, it just it slightly scales up
in size. Yep.
First, we might want to check out real badge, the component real badge.
All right.
And maybe go into what this component, what the CLI actually can do, because we missed a really crucial part, I think.
Yep.
In that, because we're now using TypeScript, right? And this component is not using TypeScript. So we can also use this utility to output types for our component. So there's the command. You can just copy paste it probably, or you can just rerun it and add the flag T to it.
All right.
Sorry, I missed that part.
No worries. I probably just typed it in very quickly. Okay, so badge. So I'll just copy this over to real badge like that. Oh, I should start the project npm run dev. Okay. And now we have. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go.
Yeah, so now we have types. It reads the GLTF and it just knows what's in there. And we see, for example, that the materials are mesh standard materials. And these materials, we know that these materials are lit materials, so we have to provide a light in this case. There's one more thing. Apart from the animations, we also want to have different lighting, because the example I showed, it features kind of like fancy reflections. That's something that we want to include as well, right? And maybe that's the first thing we'll do. It's really easy. You go to the scene, and we just dump the ambient light.
All right. No more ambient
light. Like completely get rid of it. And we are importing a component from the package Svelte extras.
All right. What's the?
It's called environment.
Environment, like so. At Svelte extras.
And you can just put it somewhere. Yeah, there's fine. And it accepts a property called files. And there we can use an image to also light our scene and provide something that can be reflected. And you typically want to do that with an image that is of a greater bit rate than 8 bits, which are HDR files. And there's one website that I can recommend to just check out for free HDR files, which is called Polyhaven.
Yeah, let's see if I can open this. Where did the... Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry, Polyhaven, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one you did before. All right. All right.
And there you can check out the HDRIs. And you see a little preview of how the lighting will
on the
be.
objects there, yeah.
Exactly, and what the reflection is. And you can just pick one. Anything goes. It should be bright. Yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah.
And
now,
where's the
you on the top right, you probably don't want to download like a 4K EXR. It's a little bit big. Make it a 1K HDR.
HDR. Okay. And then download.
It's still large, but well.
Yep.
Yeah. And that file you just put into your static folder.
Download. And then, so like that. Probably want to rename it to light or something.
Something like that. Anything goes.
And then I import it.
No. You don't have to import it. You just reference it. So files is just a string / light.hdr.
Yep. And then,
there it is.
Happened.
So I'm not sure if you see the reflections because it's still you cannot really perceive them. That's what we're going.
I guess we could do. What was it? Ambient environment?
Ambient light?
Ambient light. I guess we could just do something like this to see the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can definitely see the difference.
It's different. A little bit, yeah. Okay. So we got that part already, right? So right now our scene is not lit by a single light or like but it's lit by a file basically. Most of the times this kind of lighting is used to like create realistic scenes, right? Because the lighting information in these files is quite large, and it's not like a single light source that's coming. But you cannot really make shadows, so you cannot really make objects have shadows on other objects with this kind of method. So that's where you also want to introduce another light. But we don't need shadows, so we're good. So if you so there are 3 animations that we want to do, right? Intro animation, hover animation, and the pointer animation. And do you have one that you want to start out with?
I mean, it sounds like hover might be the easiest, at least when I think about how it works in CSS.
Yeah, so. Cool. So we don't have CSS to our hands, unfortunately, but we have something. We have a plugin, a Threlte plugin that makes it easy for us to implement that. It's called interactivity. And it's also available in the package extras. So you can just import it here.
Interactivity.
And you just invoke it somewhere here. Boom, that's it. And what it does is it's a Threlte plugin. And these plugins, they provide the ability to use pretty much any property and event on these T components.
Gotcha.
So we can now make, for example, like an on pointer enter listener directly on this real badge. But
okay, so on, no?
Yeah, on. just as you would like with any Svelte component.
Pointer enter, is that it?
No,
Mouse
it's
enter?
it's all lowercase.
Oh, so it is pointer
Yeah.
enter, or is it mouse? Okay, pointer enter.
No, it's pointer enter. But that's not what we want actually, because of reasons.
All right, yeah.
I think what you want to do is that you want to nest your badge in a group. So you make a group and make the real badge a child of that, exactly. And we are also using the T component to instantiate a group.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
And the
And
pointer event should still be on this one, or should it be on the group?
you can also put it on the group. Actually, you can put it on both things. So these events, they propagate just as DOM events do, or like not just as, but a little bit like DOM events do. Yeah, so the underlying mechanics are a little bit hard to convey in like a short amount of time, but basically, with DOM elements, we can be sure that we hover over a certain element because the browser just handles that for us, right? And but in this case, the browser just tells us that we are on this canvas element, but we don't receive any information like
That
over
doesn't
which
help a lot.
3D. Exactly. So there's some internal thing going on. That's what the interactivity plugin also handles for us.
All right.
So, but whenever, if you have a look in this real badge component, you see that inside it just consists of mesh elements. And these mesh elements, they can be raycasted against, and therefore they can be interactive, and they can be hovered over, for example.
Okay.
And that's what Threlte is using. So in your scene component, you can use this pointer enter event to do anything, basically. And in this case, we're just making
something like this, and then I assume there's some event here.
But we're not using. I mean, we can, but we're not using the event.
Oh, right. Yeah, we don't need to.
And
right.
I guess
scale
we
up
are
somehow.
Yeah, I think we're going to use like this Svelte Spring Store.
Mm-hmm. Oh no! Import Spring from. Is it just Svelte?
Motion, I think it is.
Motion, yeah. I rarely use the Spring. All right.
And so before that, we define the let's say scale.
Yeah.
Scale is a Spring, and the initial value is 1.
1.
Yeah. 1 is like regular scale.
Yep. So something like this.
Yeah.
Ooh, does it work?
Does it work?
It does not, no. I guess oh yeah, of course, we need to apply it somehow to the.
Yeah, and I would apply to the group.
To the group. All right.
Yeah.
So is there a scale property then? Okay. All right. So that's pretty cool. And then I guess we need on pointer leave.
Yep.
And on leave. Cool. Hey, look at that. That's deceptively simple to just to just get it to. Can we have it turn a bit, like rotate? Is that also?
You mean when you hover over it, that it's like?
Yeah, tilts a bit to the left or to the right, like rotates.
You mean that it follows the pointer? That one?
No, not that complicated. Just like turns 20 degrees maybe or something.
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
So
you can make another
a
spring store
there as well.
Yeah.
Rotation equals. So is this in degrees or?
Yeah,
1 to
that's
1.
a radians, but Three.js provides utility functions to convert between radians and degrees.
All right, cool. So what do I
0.
type in here?
So
0.
basically
Right.
no
Ah,
rotation.
that makes sense. That makes sense. And then I do rotation, I don't know, 0.
Let's say you can just, for example, let's say we make it 15 degrees. So you make it a 15 times, and then you enter DEG 2. Sorry,
that?
capital. So it's a constant. It's just like a number.
Like this?
Yes, and 2 is like a 2. It's like the number 2 with just the 2.
Why don't you help
Like
me
the
out here?
not. Yeah, wait.
You're-
Okay. Let me check if that works.
I think you're in here.
Ah, yeah.
So Grischa
Cool.
is in here in the editor helping me out here. Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's hidden in the examples. What's that again? I'm completely spoiled by auto intelligence importing.
Yeah.
Can
I'm
you
not
see
sure why
where?
it's not working.
Yeah, maybe that's because of this remote.
Yeah, maybe. So 3JS examples.
No. You probably don't find it. It's in some math utilities, but
Okay.
it happens that this is just this. So it's the number pi divided by 180.
Yep. All right. So something's wrong here. What is wrong? Unexpected end of file.
Yeah. I might have deleted that one.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, and you have to reset it on leave, and then I think you're good to go.
Yeah, so rotation 0.
Yeah.
And then rotation.
Yeah.
Oh, so simple. No? Hello?
All right. You just want to rotate around the y-axis, so you can.
So rotation dot. Can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, and you can see the reflections as well. Wow. That's such a cool effect for so little work.
Cool.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So should we do some work on the do we want to do one of the other animations or?
Yeah, sure. Threlte.js or like the pointer thingy.
Let's do the theater JS thing, and
all right,
then we can do the pointer thing if we have time.
Mm-hmm. So for that, I suggest to go into the real badge component. So we are working now. It's a little bit contradicting to what I usually do, because normally you don't want to touch these components, because when you re-export it and when you want to make any change, basically that component changes and you have to do manual diffing of two components. It's really it's not quite there, but but we're just in this component now. So Threlte.js, it's an animation library. It's like a toolkit to animate stuff. It's not bound to be a Thread project. It can basically animate everything and anything, and I think it's a really exciting project.
Yeah, it looks good.
And we already have an integration for that for Threlte. If you know something about, for example, After Effects, or if you used anything that's like a keyframe based editing experience, then this is totally your thing. So we're going to jump into this real badge component.
Yep.
And there's a shortcut to setting everything up, and that is just importing the theater component from @Threlte/theater. Really hard to type.
Yeah, a lot of T's and H's in the Threlte. Theater. All right.
Yeah. And you make that the
Okay.
parent of basically the whole component, like of the whole T thing.
So theater, like so. Oh, nice. So we get
Yeah, and you're immediately thrown into this into the theater UI. And but there's nothing that we can do yet. And we're using another theater component that's called editable.
All right.
And this one we're gonna make. Oh wait, I'm just thinking about the correct positioning of that one.
Sorry.
Let's.
Too excited.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that's already actually. Yeah, you were right. Make that exactly. Yeah.
Because I assume it's using like the context of the theater.
Yeah. And you probably want to make everything else a child of that too, in this case.
Ah, okay. All right.
Now it's complaining that it doesn't have a name property. We have to give it a name. So you probably want to make that name like just badge, for example. And then if you, there it is. And
Nice.
on the right side of the studio interface, upper right side, there's, this one. We don't have any props yet. There is a thing called auto props for Threlte. We're not going to use that now.
Right.
Because then we end up with different editable objects, and that's in this case not desired. But we're just going to use the property props. So it's called props, and it adds theater.js properties.
So that's an array?
That's an object.
An object, all right.
And you can, for example, say scale and give it an initial value, for example, 0 or something like that.
So that's a number then. Probably.
Yeah. And rotation. Probably not rotation, but maybe opacity.
Opacity, yep.
And also 0.
Right, because we're starting from 0, yeah. Okay.
Yes. If you save
Position?
that. No, we just want to. So theater now we want to use to fade it in.
Okay.
And to scale it up as well.
So now if I all right, cool.
So you can change these. You also can slide to change those and stuff like that. It's a little bit inconvenient because you see, like the opacity, for example, is always clamped between 0 and 1, and the interface right now is like 0 to whatever.
Right.
And this is like something that you could also change, but for now we are fine like that, I guess. And now you can use the slot prop values on the editable object to get the correct values. So here you type in let : values, and there you have your values.
So I get the values values.scale and values.opacity or something like
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And then I put that where, let's see if I can figure this out. So on this one, probably?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. So scale equal values.scale. Is this right?
No, opacity not.
Oh, okay.
But the scale is fine. Scale is perfect. Yeah, that's how it works. The opacity is a property of a material, right? And
okay.
The
So
this component that you just selected, it's just the container of the contents of our GF.
so I need to put it on each of these then.
Yeah, but you see that these are t.mesh components, and
Right.
you can use dot notation to pierce into the object and set the transparency.
Oh, so is it like mesh dot material or
You're already on the mesh,
sorry.
so it's just a material.
material dot opacity?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to be a little bit careful because the order of the properties does actually make a difference. So it needs to
yeah.
go
So we have
behind
material
material.
over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
because otherwise you're setting an opacity and then you're resetting the material and
Yep.
it's not
That
reflected.
makes sense. Okay. So we refresh, and now everything should be 0. And then if I go in here and then I set opacity 1, no.
The scale is also 0.
Oh, the scale is 0. Yeah. I was like, why isn't it working? Oh yeah, of course. It's invisible because it's doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is
There's
cool.
one thing that we still need to change though, and that is by default, these materials cannot be semi-transparent. That's what we want to
So
achieve, right? And
Yep.
to do that, we are marking them as transparent, and that's the same.
So just like this, or is it
yeah,
material dot transparent
material.transparent. Yeah,
and then true, or
you can just that's
can just do
everything
this.
it needs. Yeah.
Yep.
It's the
Yeah,
same
of
as
course,
setting
right.
material.transparent as true. Yeah. And now if you use,
Now,
for example, 0.5 or
cool.
something like that,
Oh, nice.
yeah, you also see that we can now see the backside of the material, right?
Right. Yeah, we probably don't want that.
We don't want that. It's something that we could have changed in the Blender file. It's called backface culling. So the back faces of the model, the back faces are culled. They're not visible. And you typically definitely want to do that when you're working with 3JS because it can interfere with shadows and stuff like that. But we can also change that in here. And we are just using, again, dot notation to set the side of the material. That's the equivalent 3JS property. So we set material.side to 0, which is just show us the front side.
So like that.
Yeah.
So before I finish this, we have a question here in the chat. What does the let value syntax mean? Is it something that we know from Svelte? Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's called a slot prop.
It's awesome.
I've linked it in the chat, so you can take a look at it after the stream. All right. So sorry, I add this to all of them, I guess.
Yep.
And then something. Yeah, now it looks much better.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And for example, if you set it to 0.5, opacity 0.5, and you reload the page, Threlte also does all the work for you in terms of persisting the state and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And now.
Oh, wow. I changed the side to 1, and I get this weird.
Oh yeah. Now you only see the backside.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Sorry, the sidetrack there.
You can now make a sequence of that, right? So we want to animate these values. And if you right-click on props and say sequence all.
Oh. So let's see here. So how do I...
I'm just going to leave you alone with that for a second.
Oh, I added something. Okay. I need this as well. right? But whoa. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
it's
can I
quite
play this
powerful.
somehow?
Yeah, just space should play it.
Okay.
But there's no animation in there yet. So what you did, you made
right.
keyframes, but like the values are just the same. So there's no animation. If you open up the props again on the top right of Studio,
Yeah.
and in the beginning, I would say that we're starting out with the opacity being 0. So you put the slider
Yes.
to the very left. That's what you already did, and the scale around 0.5, let's say, or something like that.
Okay.
And let's say we'll make that 2 seconds.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
So
it's already
this is
working.
cool. So I can just
Yeah.
change that, and then
And you can also now, which is really cool, you can snap the slider when you just drag the mouse now towards one of the keyframes, and then you're like while you're dragging the slider, you drag it down towards one of the keyframes, and then it snaps into the keyframe that you. At least it works for me.
no,
Oh damn.
it doesn't want to work.
Anyway, so you probably want to be on the frame that you already have a keyframe on.
Okay, so I can see
This
that
one
here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So set the opacity to 1, and
maybe 1.
that's yeah.
And then I can just. I guess I can make it bounce a bit or something.
You can make it bounce, of course.
So that would just be like adding another. Okay, so
There is actually a if you just get rid of the last keyframe, there's actually an easing. That's if you
that
click.
makes sense.
If you click on the bar between the 2 keyframes, yeah. Unfortunately, it's probably hidden behind ourselves in the stream, but
Right. But yeah. So
yeah.
actually, let me do this, and I can.
Oh yeah,
show
cool.
again, because I found it. So I just picked this one back in out. I don't know if it's the correct one. It looks fine.
Yeah, you can even change the easing with the curves and stuff like that. It's really powerful.
All right, let me move us back here. So, okay.
All right. So in the example, we had one more rotation. So it not only slides in or scales in, but it also rotates in. So you can try that too.
Yeah. So where's the where would that be? Is that, do I just do it on the whole group then?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So is that, where is that then? Is that rotation? Is it just
Y.
rotation?
Yeah, rotation
okay.
Y.
Rotation Y, yeah. Okay.
And you need to add a new property to theater.
Oh, and then I need to do this thing, right? Or maybe not.
No, yeah, well, not.
I guess if I
really.
start on 0.
Exactly. Because
start rotation. Okay, so now if I refresh, there should be a rotation.
And you have to sequence that because Theater.js doesn't really know if you want to make that an animation or not. So you right-click on rotation in the props editor and say sequence. Yeah.
And then I add a keyframe and then another keyframe.
And you probably want to start out with something like slightly tilted. Yeah, this is now in radians, so you have to point to 0.1.
0.2. Okay.
Something like that.
And then it goes to what?
Maybe more. Probably more.
Let's try
2.0. 2.0 is fine.
2.0? Okay.
No, transitioning 2.0 is probably fine. Oh, wow.
I mean, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things, I guess, that you play around a bit with what
Sure.
feels good to, and like what looks good to you, and
Yeah, you have to feel it out.
it's artistic, right? It's not
Yeah.
so much value that works all the time.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we made an animation. So how do I? Is it possible to make this play or like export the animation somehow so we can?
Yeah. So what the theater component did was to create a default project and a default sheet for us. And you see that in the studio UI on the very top left, you see these two default and default, and this is what it is, right? And the first one is the project. That's the default project. And if you click on that, you can in the props editor on the right of the studio UI, you can export your whole project to a JSON file, and you can then import that in your SvelteKit component.
Let's see if I can find her. All right, I probably need to add it to static.
No, this one goes into your bundle,
It's
so
a
you
JSON.
can.
It's a
Yeah,
JSON, yeah. So I'll just put it here,
yeah,
and
and
then
it
maybe
holds
I
all the
call
animation
it
data and stuff like that. You can also just
badge animation.
yeah, everything goes, and inside of real badge dot scene, you can import that.
All right, so import. What was it? Badge. Oh, this is a. Let's call it animation. Animation from animation.
And
Right.
you pass that to the to the property config, I think it's called, in of the theater component.
Config. Yeah.
Again, if you are unsure about these properties, like the thread documentation is quite vast. We are doing something that's called documentation-driven development. I think I heard Rich Harris once use that term. I think it's a pretty good thing to just keep the documentation in time, or like in the back of your head all the time.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing. And I think the things that we have are pretty well documented. And I think
Right. That's cool.
you need to pass it to the state property inside of that config object. So config is actually, that would be nice. No? Config is
Gotcha.
actually
So,
an object.
like this.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
That's how it works. This is how you would ship it, right? So now theater knows about these animations also in production mode.
So how do I play it, or will it play automatically?
No, it will not play automatically. You have to make a sheet for that. You have to download Xcode for that, but you have to make a sheet for that, and you want to make that a parent of the editable object.
All right. So
It's just called sheet, and it's also a component from the theater package.
Yep, that makes sense. All right. So sheet like that.
Yeah, and you make that the parent of the editable component. But not theater. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Parent of the editable component. Right. So sheet. Yep.
Now there's a property called autoplay. This is territory that will probably change in the near future, but it should.
Can I just? No, I can't remove this, right?
No.
Okay. Because I want to hide the.
Like the UI.
Controls,
but you can with Command Shift 7 on the I think that should work. Command Shift / I don't know what it is on your keyboard actually.
Yeah.
Or like.
Let's let let's have the stuff there. Let's
Yeah.
not complicate. All right. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
if
so sick.
you, does it
I
loop?
just want to see it.
I know you're
Uh,
reloading, right?
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just
Okay.
reloading because I want to see it again.
Yeah. That's pretty much all there is to it.
Yeah, and then you could probably, like, the viewers can probably imagine like some text here. Oh, congratulations, you.
Confetti,
Yeah, yeah,
of
exactly.
course.
It's something we talked about. Yeah. All right. Should we do the? I think so. I think we have 10 minutes. Around 5 or 10 minutes. Do you have time? Then we can take a look at the pointer thing. It's up to you.
Cool. Um, for that, I suggest we go back into the scene. Like it doesn't really matter. It's
Yep.
this example is not really the best example in terms of like where to put what. It's just to get into the groove with it. And
Yep.
for that, we are making the real badge a child of another group. So we are grouping the group in a group.
Well, what?
Stuff like that. I don't know. Just make a new group.
Inside of the group.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One group inside of the group.
That by that we can, because basically we also want the same rotation as we did on the hover, right? It's the same rotation, and
Yeah.
we could go and just make a calculation inside of that group
Like
exactly.
functions.
Yeah, or on the group itself, like or on this group, we can rotation dot
Mm-hmm.
y is rotation plus another rotation. We can do that, or we can just use another
Mm-hmm.
group. It is more resource uh, intense if we make another group, but it's also clearer to us, and
Yeah.
it's actually
Let's go with that.
yeah. Yeah. So we start out with obtaining the pointer coordinates, right? We want to follow the pointer with the badge, and for that we already have the interactivity in place. But
Yep.
the pointer coordinates are available with a hook that's also available in this extra package, and it's called
Okay.
use interactivity.
All right. And
And
does it work like React hooks? So we get something
yeah, you get something back.
equals
So
use interactivity.
yeah, and you can destructure it, and it's called the thing that we want is the pointer. So
All right. Pointer.
yeah, and it's a store, and it holds x and y values in normalized screen space. So it starts at -1 and goes to 1, -1 and goes to 1.
Okay. So top would be -1, bottom would be 1.
Yes.
And left to right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we can use to calculate rotation y and rotation x, I think it
Yep.
is.
Yep. All right. So do I do the calculation in here, or
You can do it wherever you want, like a reactor statement, property.
let's try it here. And then I can move it to a reactive statement if that's if it gets crazy. All right. So we have the pointer.x, I guess, or pointer.y, and then this is not my or is it screen y?
No, it's just pointed at y.
That's y.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's weird that it's probably the missing property value at the very end that's
Yeah.
flipping out IntelliSense in this case.
So if I just did this, then
Yeah,
it should.
you can try. Yeah, something's happening.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like just having
Yeah.
this weird animation, and that's again just with like 2 lines of code, or even
Yeah.
just one line of code. I guess 2 if you count the interactivity one as well.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of fiddling around, right?
Yeah.
Getting the correct axis for the rotation. I think in this case, the pointer x should drive the y-axis of the rotation, because the y-axis is this one, right?
Yeah.
And the pointer y should drive the
x one.
x, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
It's very easy to just do something, because this is something that you would probably do in a lot of things, right? You want the pointer to like follow, like the object to follow the pointer, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of doing that, yeah.
I think one of your axes is upside down.
Yeah, probably.
So which one is it? I think Y.
So what would I change here then?
You can multiply it by -1, or you can just also point a minus in front of it. Also works.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. So that looks
better.
That looks better.
Cool.
That I thought that would take longer. Probably because I was imagining we would use like on pointer enter and stuff.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, if this is all it is, then
yeah, because we're like inside of that Svelte plugin interactivity, we already need all these pointer informations, and why not just expose them and make it available through a hook?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Okay, I think that's all of the things that we wanted to cover.
Yeah, I think so too.
So let's make this a bit bigger and zoom in a bit so people can see this beautiful thing. Oh, it's got an on mount animation, I guess you could call it, or like an autoplay animation, and hover states. I guess it has 2 hovers now, right? It has like when we're in the canvas, and then gets bigger once we.
Yeah, it's, you probably want to. I mean, there are some things that we didn't cover. For example, like the GLTF has to load at some point, right? And right now we're playing that animation, no matter if the GLTF loaded or not. So when the user is on like a bad network connection, then we already played some part of the animation, if not all of it, and then it just pops in, stuff like that. So there's really a lot to think about still, but in general, Svelte really tries to make it as easy for you as possible to realize stuff like that.
Yeah, and I just noticed on the StreamYard screen, like it's a bit stuttery, but I can assure everyone that it's buttery smooth on my end. It's probably because it's capturing the screen and it's not doing it in high enough frames per second. All right, so let's see if I can bring the 2 of us up here. All right, so that was amazing.
Cool.
I'm definitely gonna make more badges for the new website, and I assume I could just generate the components using the CLI if I make them in Blender. It's very cool. Yeah, I can publish this on GitHub. I'll post it on. I'll tweet out about on the Svelte Society Twitter, and yeah. So one question I had about the autoplay thing, is it possible to just make it play on click or something like that? I assume it would be.
Sure. Yeah. Like we are also exposing like the sure. Not really sure actually, because actually this whole package, Threlte package, is currently being overhauled because Theatre.js is really, really powerful, and we want to make sure that the API is not limiting you in any way, but it also needs to be comfortable to use. And this is
Right.
something that we are not 100% happy with. So that is subject to change.
Okay. Yeah.
You can keep track of that, but the basics are there, and the stuff that we used probably also doesn't really change. But there's one thing that's coming. That is another component called sequence, and this is probably the component that drives all the playback of the sequence.
Yep. So, coming soon, kind of.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for joining me and teaching me all this stuff. Very, very, very cool to, especially so. So I've been eyeing Threlte for a long time, right? And I've always been feeling kind of intimidated by all of the, like, I guess it's the fact that it's Three.js under the hood, and I mean it helps that it's somewhat abstracted, but you still need to kind of know some Three.js to actually understand what you're doing.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely.
so getting this for you, it's probably very, very basic, but for me, this is already like advanced.
I mean, it helps to know Three.js and Svelte beforehand, like before jumping into Svelte. It really helps. But there are also people who do. There are really cool Three.js courses out there. Like one is, I think, Discover Three.js, and then there's a course by Bruno Simon. Oh, maybe that's the one. I don't know. Anyway, and there are also people out there that actually do these courses with Threlte and who report back that
cool.
it's a lovely experience. And so I can also,
That's amazing.
Maybe I can also recommend doing that. Depends.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that would make total sense to me as a Svelte user.
Yeah.
Just like use Threlte, but do the course material.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Where can people find out more about you or Threlte or anything that you want to plug?
So we have a Twitter account. It's just called Threlte, I think. My voice is giving up slowly.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, I've been keeping you for a long time here.
No, it's good, all good. And we have a very active Discord community.
Yep.
And also, we are happy to welcome everyone who wants to contribute or to maintain some sort of integration or anything. It goes a long way of just having that like community effort. Yeah. So.
All right. Cool. Great. Thanks to all the viewers. It's been quite a long stream, but I thought it was very interesting and interactive through it all. I enjoyed it a lot. I will see you in a week or two for another Building Svelte Society session. But until then, take care and keep enjoying Svelte.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.